Shalom, giving all praise, honor, glory to Yahweh Bahashim Shai, the Wadi Yahweh Bahashim Shai. These are the days, minutes, hours leading to the return of the one who the world calls Jesus Christ. And we know that before he returns, that we're going to have different things happen. More natural disasters pertaining to Matthew, the 24th chapter, the 7th verse. More signs in the stars and in heaven pertaining to Luke, the 21st chapter, the 25th verse. Right? Blood moons, super moons, eclipses, and appearances and sightings of UFOs, which are the chariots of the Heavenly Father, which Marco Rubio was speaking about recently. World War III, which I believe the different peace talks between Israel and Palestine either they had peace or ceasefire or something, and then I think they just started rolling again. And different, but World War III fully culminating in the pushing of the mark of the beast, which is the RFID microchip. Also, calamities, hysteria, and the breakdown of society. We're probably getting ready to see that within these next few weeks to months with the food stamps not being sent back. So you're going to see a lot of people running out the store. And guess what? They're going to have different troops already on these streets to control that. So we're going to see what's going to happen, But what I want to go into real quick is, about heaviness and about frustration about certain situations. A lot of times it's certain things that, because the scriptures talk about be ye content with food and raiment. For the most part, I don't know about every brother's situation, but for the most part, different brothers got that. They got clothes on their back, food on their body. It doesn't even talk about a home. So if you got a place to live, you're really living extra. If you got a lady, if you got, a car, you're really living extra. Because the scriptures talk about being content with food and raiment. But the different situations of this life, whether job situations, you didn't get a job, or, having situations at the job, car situations, social situations, having problems, with ladies or with your lady or with family, different things, they happen, and, they bug you and they frustrate you, but that different heaviness will make you sad, will strip you of your beauty, make you feel not like yourself. You may be a naturally upbeat person or just a natural person that's just, smiley and things like that, but situations happen and you get by humbug. Heaviness in the heart of man maketh it stoop, but a good word maketh it good glad, right? So then you talk to somebody, you may talk to a brother, you may talk to a family member or somebody, or, over time you get some sleep, you get some good food in you, you get a good workout in you, really release all that, and then you start feeling better again, But it's a challenge, it's a challenge. Ecclesiastes chapter 30, verse 21, give not over thy mind to heaviness, and afflict not thyself in thine own counsel, right? And a lot of it, which is easier said than done because, you're always trying to analyze your situation, but a lot of it comes with, certain things of the past or not accepting a thing of the past. You keep thinking about it. You're like, damn, I should have done this. Damn, I could have done this. Damn, why did I do this? Damn, this, that. These different situations, and they're common to all of us. We just get pissed off, think about what we did and what we could have did and all that. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 8, and having food and raiment, let us be therewith content. But sometimes you just it helps to just look up and think about things that you are thankful for, because even though you had that situation, for the most part, and I can't say this surely, but for the most part, you ate. For the most part, you got clothes on your back, things like that. So Thawadi Yahweh Shemel Shah for that, because not everybody has that. And even if you got a car, definitely not everybody has that. Definitely. In and out the faith, not even close. If you got a house, apartment, whatever situation, definitely not everybody has that. Again, in and out the faith, especially in this economy. People are bundled up 3, 4, 5 to a house. Everybody dislike each other, arguing every other day about food and who washed the dishes and who is not paying their part on rent. You know, if you got a lady, you know, definitely not everybody got that. Definitely. Again, you could search the internet. You got these men, young and old, complaining about women 24/7, all day, every day. You know, so there's different things, easier said than done, but there's different things to actually be very, very thankful for in a lot of brothers' lives. Proverbs 3 verse 5, trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not into thine own understanding, right? Because the Lord's ways are higher than ours. Because remember, now this doesn't give you free liberty to just be as dumb as possible and say, oh, the Lord had me do it. It's the Lord's will. But certain things that happen, which you're concerned why it happened and you're weirded out why it happened, it may be a peculiar situation. First of all, the scriptures talk about, the different situations, other men dealt with them, other people dealt with them, so there's a lot of times you may think a situation is specific to you. You're like, man, this never really happens to anybody, but a lot of other people had that same situation. And then also, yes, it may seem peculiar, but the Lord may have had it happen because, he's trying to get you out of the way of something or do something to set you up for something better, but it's hard to think about it like that while you're in that situation because you're just thinking, man, how did this, but yeah, man, try your best to put it in the hands of the Lord and just keep your mentality, on finding things to be positive about, because if not, you really are just gonna downward spiral. You got to find different things to be positive about. 2 Timothy chapter 2 verse 4, no man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who had chosen him to be a soldier, right? So at the end of the day, this is a spiritual war, to stay on track and continue to love the Lord, while a part of this world. So you want to try within the best of your ability to not get too entangled, just keep chopping away every day, at, what you need, because you get entangled with the affairs of this life, man, you're just going to end up how these different people be, which is very sad, very frustrated. You got mental health crises going up more than ever. So yeah, and just try your best to stay prayed up, stay in the right mind state, stay in the lanes of Yahweh Shem Yahshai, and Lord, by the will of the Lord, things will get better, or things will start aligning. That's our prayer and that's our hope. And really, hopefully, and soon and very soon, really all this is gonna shut down anyway. Because some certain times, I be thinking about this situation and that situation, but then I'm like, man, all this is going, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shai, man. This whole setup is going to be over soon. And through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shai, we'll be in the kingdom of heaven. To where you don't got to worry about, $8 an hour, $12 an hour, this, that, sitting in traffic, whatever the situation might be, car notes and things like that. Shalom.